Good afternoon, ladies. Welcome to the pre-K grade level meeting. I am Jennifer and I'm the teacher coach. I will be facilitating today's meeting. We are going to be looking at some observations, anecdotal notes, some student work. But before we begin, I would like to review our roles. Kiva, if you could please be the timekeeper for us.
No problem.
Kim is going to be the presenting teacher.
I'm ready.
Mara and Marcleen, you will both be providing some warm and cool feedback for Kim when we start discussing the notes. And Kiva, I'd also like you to provide some feedback as well.
No problem.
So, like I mentioned, we're going to be looking at some observations, some work samples, some documentation from our preschool students. That is our purpose for this session. So Kim, can you talk to us a little bit about the child that we're going to be
Okay, I can do that. This morning I'll be presenting some data to you ladies on Jonathan. Jonathan is 3. He's one of my higher level students, loves coming to school, and is a joy to have around. Let's tell you a little bit about what Jonathan does. My first anecdote or my first observation is I said, "Let's clap now, Jonathan." Without assistance, Jonathan clapped 3 times and said, "Jonathan." So he was one of the last children to be called, and he had an opportunity to see this modeled several times before his turn came. And I leveled it at a level 4, objective 15C. Notices and discriminates smaller and smaller units of sound. My second observation includes a picture, as you can see, and this is Jonathan singing with his friends at group time. A child was crying because he didn't have a microphone. Jonathan said, "He's mad. He can have mine when I'm finished." But I'm not finished yet, guys. Jonathan actually didn't get finished until it was time to pick up to go outside. But he did remember to give the microphone to the child and said, "It's your turn now." And I gave that objective 2B, responding to emotional cues, level 6. 3A, balancing the needs and rights of self and others, level 4. And 3B, solving social problems, level 5. And my very last one that I'm going to share for right now, Jonathan recognized words that rhyme with his name, Ponathan, Monathan, and the names of several other children in the class. And he was able to generate rhymes to names and also supply the missing rhyming word in familiar chants that we did. So my objective is 15A, notices and discriminates rhyme at a level 3.
So, for the rest of us, you guys will be providing warm and cool feedback to the presenting teacher, to Kimberly. I want you to remember to be very specific and refer to the documentation in front of you when you're sharing your feedback with Kimberly. Try to avoid making general statements when you're giving that feedback. Okay. Also, just to, when you're giving the feedback, make sure you refer to your TSAR rubric so that you can give her specific information based on the rubric and where you think she's falling and how you think we can move her forward. So now I'm going to be giving you about 10 minutes to review the rubric, read that over, read over the documentation that Kim has provided, and after that 10-minute period is over, we'll come back together and start our discussion.
Okay.
Now that we've had the opportunity to independently review the student documentation in front of you, let us come back together, provide some feedback based on the documentation that you just looked at and the TSAR rubric. Remember that the feedback is to be warm and cold. And also please remember, Kim, this is to help provide you with some ideas on how to grow professionally and move students towards mastery. When providing the feedback, ladies, just make sure to start with some examples of what the presenting teacher is doing well. So who would like to begin?
I'll begin. I'm just looking at the second observation, Ms. Kim, where you talk about Jonathan and his friends and sharing. I like the way the observation is very clear. You write it very detailed. It gives me an actual clear picture of who Jonathan is and what's actually happening in the classroom. So the writing and observation was very detailed, and I think you're really refining in that area.
Kim, I also noticed that for your first observation, that you use relevant key objective, and there was no extra objectives used to determine what level the child was at.
Well, Kim, using your Creative Curriculum Volume 5, Objectives for Development and Learning
Okay.
text, let's just kind of look at how you identify the appropriate objectives for level, or I should say, for observation number 3.
Okay.
Okay? Based on it, you gave him a level 3, but I just want you to kind of refer back and reflect on how did you make those determinations.
Very good feedback, thank you very much.
I also noticed that in the first observation, I can see why you chose a level 4 for 15C, notices and discriminates smaller and smaller units of sound.
Okay.
But I wondered how valid it was, since he saw everyone else model and do the activity first. And by selecting that indicator, it would mean that he was more able to do that independently.
I feel, Myra, that Jonathan's name is different. So I think a lot of time, even if children get it modeled numerous times, but when they clap out their names, the syllables is different. So in order for him to do it, even if he saw the other children model it, the fact that he was able to clap out Jonathan, he got it because maybe the children's name was shorter or longer than his name, but that was his name unless there was another child in the classroom with the name Jonathan. I think that was a pretty good fit.
That's a good point. It's kind of hard to tell, though, would he have been able to do it independently if he had not had it modeled by anybody else prior to.
Actually, Jonathan
Say one second.
is one of my higher level students in the classroom. And so I actually had the other children go before him because he usually has success with the clapping out the syllables in his name. And so to allow the other children to go first would allow me to see where they are. And then by giving him something a little bit more difficult with his 3-syllable name, that allows the other children not only to see how a longer name is done, but it gives him success with doing his own name as well.
Ladies, we've exceeded our time.
Okay, so thank you very much, Kim, thank you for that. Thank you very much for your time today. I hope this session was beneficial and supported you with the skills needed in order to help move your students forward.
And I just want to say thank you for this time that we've had. It was informative, it was thought-provoking. It's really going to help me not only as I move forward in collecting data and collecting and writing my observations into goal, but in terms of revising. And it's okay to revise
Absolutely.
as I input something in. And I think that that's important to remember, because sometimes we think that once we put it in, that's it. But we do need to look back at the work that we have and use it to plan for our students.
That's a great takeaway.
So thank you so very much, ladies.
Thank you very much.
All right, have a great rest of the day.
You too.
All right.